Oh my God, you're really taking this seriously, aren't you? Bored out of your mind on Amazon trying to work out how to be a radio broadcaster.
Yeah. It's like sat on YouTube. How to podcast. Yes. Welcome. Lattes Before Load-in, episode 6. Crazy. How's everyone doing? Everyone's good? Yeah. So, welcome. For anyone new listening today, my name is James. I'm the sound engineer and tour manager for the band While She Sleeps. And along with our merch guy, Lacey, we're running this podcast to kind of just talk to our crew and some of the band members about the recent tour we did in January and just relive some memories and tell you what it was like touring with rock stars such as While She Sleeps. So, yeah. Hope you enjoy listening to us not know what we're on about. So, anyways, yeah, this week's guest is, you'll have probably already seen it in the description or in the caption of the post, but yeah, we've got another band member for you this week. It's Mr. Mat Welsh, guitar player. So, yeah, managed to pin him down. He wasn't late for once, he was on time. So, well done, Matthew. Yeah, we talk about a stupid wide range of topics in this episode. It's quite a long one, so I apologize in advance. But we find out what Matt gets up to on a typical day on tour, what we did in pre-production, and loads of other stuff. We go way off topic at some points, so yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, before we get started with that, let's do some questions from the Instagram page this week.
Question 1. Thoughts on campers? Do you prefer mixing them compared to miking cabs?
Yeah, I think I definitely prefer the Kempers, to be honest. They're such a solid, clean sound. I just take the XLRs out the back of the Kempers. The guys still run it through cabs on stage, so there is still a bit of noise from stage from a live cabinet, but it just means my signal's super clean. And, you know, the guys have profiled all their amps from the studio, so it means they can have the exact tone that they use on, like, the verse of this song is this amp, and the chorus of the same song could be a completely different amp. Something you can't do with a live amp on stage, but yeah, and it also means that everyone gets the same killer guitar tone worldwide. Like, we can just fly them with us, or we could just save the entire show onto a USB stick and they could load it onto another Kemper on the other side of the world and still deliver the same guitar tone there. So yeah.
Question 2. What's your favorite venue to tech in?
Ooh, good question. If we're just going off the venues on this tour, I'd say probably Brussels and Amsterdam stand out as like good all-round venues, like good backstage area and like great in-house crew that are really there to help. And I'd probably say best sound-wise was probably Manchester for me. And that venue's got like a special place in my heart as well because I saw a lot of my favourite bands in that venue growing up. So every time I see that on a tour that I'm doing, I'm very happy. Yes, and if you have a question about touring in general or anything about the show in Amsterdam next week, then keep an eye out on the Instagram page on Wednesday. I'll post in the stories a little question box. You can just drop your question there and maybe I'll answer it next week. Yeah, also I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that donated towards the podcast running costs this week. It really does mean so much because at the moment we don't have jobs, so it sucks so much. But the fact that you guys are helping out with the running costs of this thing really does make us want to make more episodes and keep it going as long as we can for you guys. So thank you very much. If you want to help out, then head over to the Instagram page at While She Texts. Click the link in the bio and there should be a box there that says donate. You can donate via PayPal. You know, just the price of a coffee or 100 grand, whatever you can afford. It all helps. And yeah, this week I went down to the warehouse and met up with Matt and Lacey for a bit of a catch up before we did the video call for this. And yeah, bought a round of coffees in using the donation money. So thank you very much for you guys for buying us coffee and keeping us caffeinated and awake to do this podcast. Yeah, it really does help out a lot. But yeah, let's crack on with this episode. It is a long one. It goes wildly off topic straight away. As soon as the intro is done, it's off on a tangent. So sorry about that, but enjoy.
Hey, and welcome to episode 6 of the While She Texts podcast. As ever, I'm joined by our front of house, TM legend, James Hill.
Hello.
And today we're joined by a very special guest to talk about the show, the man, the myth, the design legend. We've got Mat Welsh. Hello, mate.
It's pronounced Welsh. It's Welsh.
Good
I
stuff.
know. It's fine. It's fine. Like, I've been getting that all my life. When I answer the phone, I say Welsh like the people, but nothing to do with them.
I can't believe you've done that to me, man. Listen, this podcast is early. Right? This podcast is early because the only time we can ever nail you down is first thing in the morning because you do 600 million things a day.
Well, that's why I said if you want me, we're going to do it early. It's 9 o'clock, do you know what I mean? I've been here for over 3 hours.
Yeah, but that's
You're
a you
crazy.
problem, dude. That's not a me problem. And then you call me out like this. Like, most normal people are still asleep right now.
It was a correction, not a call out. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't anything bad on you. I mean, we've only been mates for fucking years, so like...
Yeah, right. So lockdown's going well for you then?
Yeah. Great. Ironically, like, people keep saying to me, like, oh, fucking 2020, what a disaster. And I'm like, kind of having a great time.
Yeah, this 2020 is a proper you year, mate. I'm going to be honest.
Where you never really get an opportunity to be home this much, so I'm reveling in it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but you're just at the warehouse. That's it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's like...
Favorite place on earth.
I crave home and warehouse when I'm away on tour. So like, it's fine as long as we get to go and do gigs again. Do you know what I mean? And like, we're being productive. We'll do good shit.
Fair.
Yeah, true.
I mean, James, on the other hand, has literally just not done anything for like 4 months.
Just been about.
I've been on Amazon.
Podcast.
You've been on Amazon.
I've been
for
buying
4
boom
months.
arms for my podcast mic and Anchor products.
For the listeners, we're on video call and James has like a full spec radio boom arm.
It was £12.
It's highly inspiring.
Yeah.
Proper Alan Partridge.
It's way better than the mic stand I had before. I kept knocking the mic stand into my speakers and stuff.
Yeah,
this is
fair.
Neat and convenient.
Well, I'm sat in our live room on my own with my laptop on a guitar cab.
Yeah.
And I've stolen the mic from the studio next door. So
I'm using my girlfriend's mic on a tripod that's meant for like an old digital camera.
I can see it. It's like one of those micro tripods, isn't it?
Yeah. It just about works. When it doesn't fall over, it sounds great.
It's not about your gear. All the gear and no idea.
It's all about this quality content that we keep churning out of you calling me out at 9 a.m.
It is episode 6 though, which is inspiring that you've persisted with it, because it could easily be the sort of thing that you sort of, I want to start a podcast, do it, and then it just fizzles out. Like, I've got hobbies. I've got wardrobes and like lockers full of hobbies like that, where I picked something up and never continued. I've got a fucking wetsuit. I got into wild swimming.
What?
Wow.
And like, that's not a hobby I've continued with.
You did that one.
Wild swimming. I'm kind of into the idea of wild swimming, I think. Is it literally just go out to a river and just swim up it?
Oh, fucking hell, yeah. It's incredible. I mean, like, why are you limited to swimming pools? Just go swim wherever you want. But if you get a wetsuit, you're not sort of like, oh, we've got to wait till the hottest day of the year to do it. So we just had this epiphany a few years ago where we were like, why do we go to swimming pools? We love swimming. Why don't we just go to like all the sickest lakes and swim in them instead? But we went to Lady Bower. Me, Ellen, Sav all bought these wetsuits, went to Lady Bower for a swim, and we swam across Lady Bower. But the water is like so thick with iron there, like iron ore. So like the water looks like Coca-Cola. So when you're swimming in it, you can't even see your own chest. You can't see your hands. It's like really, really weirdly scary, because if you go underwater, you're like, you're gone. It's
That's
like
grim.
Wow.
And Elle had like a panic attack in like the middle of the lake. It's not funny, but like, we were like, fucking hell. Yeah, it was like not necessarily the like peaceful, tranquil at one with nature that we hoped it to be.
Yeah, I rode out to Lady Bower yesterday on my bike.
Did you? Bad man.
Yeah, and it was uphill all the way there. I was like, this is going to be so sick on the way back, until I hit Snake's Pass and it was downhill all the way there.
Yeah.
And I got there, and my intention was to get there, have like a rest, get like rehydrate and get back. I looked at the time and I remember Carrie saying to me, sundown is at 9:10. I was like, I've got plenty of time. Looked at my watch and it was 8:15. And I was like, oh shit, I've got to get back 10 miles rapid, and the first part is uphill. And
I'm going to say that whole section from Lady Bower Inn until the top before you start hill back to Chef. It's a hell of a climb, that.
literally from Lady Boas to where it says "Welcome back to Sheffield" is like uphill. And I'd rode uphill all the way there. It just, by the time I got going downhill, it took me a long time to breathe normally while going like 35 mile an hour downhill.
Oh, it's a good ride that though. I'd love to do that.
It would be better if I'd had more time to enjoy Lady Bower instead of just getting there and turning around.
I mean, it's just a stint to get there. Like even my motorbike doesn't enjoy that hill, so doing it with like actual legs would be loads shitter.
Yeah, it seems like a good idea until you get about 3/4 of the way up the hill there, and then the gradient just gets steeper and steeper.
Yeah.
Not fun. Brutal. Anyway, we're getting off topic.
Brutally off topic. We're talking about wild swimming within the first 10 minutes.
So during lockdown, I know that you do a lot of design. Everyone knows that you do most of the design for Sleeps. You do loads of merch and stuff. Have you been doing design work for other people at all, or are you just focusing on Sleeps at the moment? Where are you at with that?
I did some stuff for August Burns Red, which is cool. I like do bits and bobs for them on and off, which is always really fun. They're like a really nice band to work with. They've got quite an open vision, but like they know what they like, but they like my design, so they're quite keen to just let me do whatever I want. Like 2 of the guys in the band manage the band, and JB he communicates so well. He sends you like a big detailed list of loads of lyrics that he thinks will be like stronger t-shirts and shit, which is like the exact direction you need if you're doing that kind of thing. So I enjoy working for them. I get asked bits and bobs, but like Sleeps just takes such a heavy priority that it's one of those things where like I'd like to do it, but it has to be when I haven't got something more crucial on.
Yeah, right. Because you've got the merch store running pretty much all the time still, which is quite strange because a lot of, obviously we all follow different bands, we all pay attention. I'm sure there's people out there that will inevitably message me and tell me differently, but you're one of the only bands that I've seen that are still posting like new merch ranges and stuff like that. Like how important to the band is that? I know people talk about the merch, but while you're here, let's get you talking properly about it. How important is that?
It's like, it's absolute lifeline. Like it's the only reason we can do this for a full-time job. Like especially if we're not touring. If we're touring, then a lot of the money you make on touring gets spent on touring because it's not a cheap thing to do. You're talking about carting loads of people around in a fucking lorry and flying places and getting visas and all that. So like even if it looks like you're getting paid good for a gig, you're probably gonna, as the bigger the gig, the more it costs to do the gig. So like touring eats its own money. Merch is our like way of being able to keep the warehouse and us being able to not have to get other jobs. So like because of that, I keep it quite at the forefront of my mind that it's important and it's crucial. So I've always wanted it to be something that's not like a side hustle for the band. I wanted it to be like, you want everything to be an equal level of of effort. So I want the merch to be as representative and true and like original as the band hopefully is. So like, yes, I do spend a lot of work on it, to be fair. And no one told me when I were like fucking 13 years old and were desperate to do this for a living that you basically need to run your own clothing line. I want to be in a band and someone should go, whoa, 1 second, you have to be up for starting your own clothing line. That's the hard thing about it. It took years to get better and like streamline the process and make it work. Just things like reordering and trying to stay on top of things. I mean, I still drop behind with it and fuck up with it, but like, yeah, I think we've got it to a pretty good place, and hopefully, like people seem to love it. So I think it works that we put so much attention in. It's not sort of falling on deaf ears.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Shall we move on and talk about the tour?
Gigs.
Yeah, we probably should.
Gigs and live music and stuff.
I remember gigs.
I'm beginning to forget what they are.
They're all in Dropbox folders now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'll just wait for Enzo to tell me.
That's the only place I can sort of go to a gig now. I'd occasionally just like go to an old Dropbox folder and cruise
swipe through.
Remember the good times.
But yeah, let's move on to what we did before the tour. So as me and Lacey discussed in the first episode, we did some pre-production stuff, and most of that pre-production stuff was you, Matthew. So why don't you talk us through all the different bits that you did to get the band ready to go on tour?
This was, I love pre-production. It's fun. And I mean, like James, and you, Lace, we all speak really closely before a tour about Lace with the merch and all the stuff you talked about in your episode, and like how much goes into working out what we're going to need, how many designs we want to take, that kind of stuff. So that's an element of it that that I spent quite a bit of time on before, making sure that there was like a strong range for the tour and some new bits and some like exciting stuff, and making sure that logistically it worked with you. And then the rest of it was, it's ironic really, because before this tour, I was channeling all my energy into getting our rig ready for a proper good year of touring, because we had such a busy festival season. And we went straight to America after the January tour. So like all my time was spent trying to make the rig as streamlined as possible and as like easy to use, but for all over the world. So to move from being a full rig in Europe that is basically all in like rolling cases, as like combined as possible. So if we're doing festival slots, you can be quite quick. And then at the same time, try to design that so that it can pull out of these rolling cases and go into flyable cases, because you can't fly a rolling case. So pull out of the big rollers and go into like Pelican cases, which are sort of a bit lighter and sort of more protective, so that we have this one rig that's really good for the worldwide shit. So yeah, it was kind of spent loads of it doing that. I mean, to divide it up into the bits, we made the mothership, didn't we? Which was what it got nicknamed, which is basically like a 16U rolling case, but instead of the things being rack mounted inside it, each individual thing. So in that, there's 2 Kempers, a drawer that has like the guitar wireless packs, the Cymatic, which runs the click tracks and the tracks, and then the guitar wireless systems. And then also 2 routers, one that connects to the Cymatic so that Sav can have an iPad next to him to see what song we're on, and if anything goes wrong, he's got access to stop the tracks. And then another router which talks to the M32, which controls our in-ears. So to house that inside one rolling case is like almost like the brain of the band's gear in it.
Yeah, like, it saves so much time being in that case as well, just being able to roll it in. It's all pre-wired in the back during the tour, so Liam just takes the front and the back off, and it's all plugged in, ready to go. Just plug the power in, and it's good.
Yeah,
rather than stacking stuff on top of each other.
And like, we know now from touring that if you're unplugging and plugging things in every day, then like it starts to take its toll and inputs start to break, and those things, they sound like small things, don't they? But like they actually end up being quite like bad problems to have on tour. So like all the Kempers, you'll have to put a picture up with this of what we did with the Kempers. So we put them in like metal surrounds that are like what are they, 4U, 3U?
They're 3U, aren't they?
Yeah,
it's just a Kemper in there, so it'll be 3U.
Yeah, 3U, and on the back, instead of using the Kemper plugs, inputs. So I was just thinking, if I've got a picture, I have actually when we're building it. We built patch bays that go on the back, so they're all pre-wired, and then so you never touch the back of the Kemper because the inputs are sort of weaker on like the back as they would be if you were making like a patch bay or like a pedal board. So we made these patch bays, and which have like grilled doors underneath them. Did that with Mac Fraser, which is like, that's like the best thing, to have the Kempers like that. So the whole thing was just all plugged in all the time. It made for really smooth in and outs at the shows, didn't it?
Yeah, I was excited to do festivals this year with that, because
that was the whole idea, that
festivals were a bit of a nightmare last year. So
yeah, like sometimes you don't get much time, do you? So it's like, we spent all last year, I think, like especially with Wakey, we were always talking about, this would be nice if it were like this would be nice if it were like this. So I took all those points that we sort of made through the year, how it could be better. And then I spent like probably a month before the January tour trying to make those things come to life and make it all work. So I was really excited after we pulled the like the Kempers and the individual items out of the roller. They all go in Pellies. We did that for America and used it as a fly rig, and it worked really well there.
Yeah.
And then the idea was that we get home and they slot back in these cases and it's ready for festival season. But alas,
didn't happen.
Yeah. So that was like one of the things I was really excited about in a very geeky way. But next year.
Yeah, that roller case, it came up on my time hop the other day. Because we actually I looked at that roller case about 2 years ago for a different band. Because we bought the roller case from Brinkmer. So me and Matt went shopping in
where
there.
most of the like casing comes from. We're like, I don't believe in buying new cases really, because the point of a case is to be a tough, beaten up thing that protects the thing inside. So I couldn't give a fuck if it looks shiny or looks knackered. So I'll always buy second-hand cases, really, provided they're in good enough nick. Bring Me have such a developed rig, and they're across the road from us. So me and James went shopping and
got some cases,
which is amazing because they're either going to go to waste in their unit or get sold as well. So I think they like the fact that it sort of gets recycled in us.
And it works perfectly.
It works really well.
It was exactly the case we needed.
So that was a lot of the pre-pro in terms of the like guitar side. On the drum side, I had an old friend, basically the dude who used to drive Sleeps, like in the orange van right at the beginning, a guy called Calp. He like works for like a trucking company now, and like, or like a drilling company, some fucking serious like industrial shit. Back where we grew up, and he just texted me like out of the blue. It was like, "Do you want this flight case, mate?" And I was like, "What is it? Send me some measurements." And he sent me this like massive like red flight case, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, hope for note." Like, I'll be able to like refab it into like basically. One of the other things that we realized in the summer before was that we have this super shit hardware case for Sab's hardware. It's knackered.
Yeah, and one of the wheels has fallen off.
Yeah, and the wheels were also a job that they weren't even the original wheels. I'd like put these casters on it and fixed it on tour so many times. It was just shagged. So like that, and all these drums were in individual cases. And we kept seeing like when you're at festivals, it's a bit like, it's like going to a car show because like there's loads of other cars there that other people own and have done up, and you're a bit like, yeah, that's nice, mate. What wheels are they? All right, you got spacers on them. Do you know what I mean? So like when you're at festivals, you see all this shit and you're like, oh, that's clever. So we always see these drum cases that are amazing and like basically transport like the whole kit and the hardware inside like a massive trunk, really good for trailers. You roll it in and it's just a big block of space. So we were like, how do we do that for basically nothing? Got given this case, and then I went to town on that with a rivet gun. So actually the first like flight casing job I've done, which is kind of fun. Both of those to like put shelves and dividers inside flight cases and then have foam made to measure. And we made that so it fits the majority of the kit. I think you spoke about it in another episode, didn't you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Send me a picture of it if you have it. It is.
I will.
It's a finger of beauty.
Yeah, I was really stoked with it when it came out, like when it got finished. And we replaced everything, like the handles, the wheels, the hinges. Like Lacey did a lot of work with me on it because quickly realized that I'm constantly going, oh, like, can someone hold this? Well, I'll just put this rivet in. Or can someone hold this bolt? And I'm like inside the case, tightening like the other side of it up. So it was definitely a two-man job in a lot of places. And Lacey was here doing just general Sleeps handiwork while we were in the pre-production of that. So to be fair, like shout out you, Lace, in that whole run up to that tour, because me and you were in the warehouse all the time on that, and we were just doing all the odd jobs. Like,
yeah, that's the advantage of me living 2 miles away from the warehouse.
It's a good time, that.
When I moved to Sheffield, I was like, yeah, 2 miles away from the warehouse, that's amazing. And then just before the tour, I was like,
this
looks one of the closest ones to the warehouse.
I like Lacey, mate. Do you mind just nipping down? Just give me an answer.
But yeah, no, that was fun, man. All the pre stuff on that tour was fun. Like you said, a lot of that stuff that you just spoke about there is stuff that I can't really help with. All the rack units and stuff is stuff that I have absolutely no knowledge of. So when you said, oh, can you come help me rivet this case together? I was like, yes, finally something I can do. And within about putting 3 rivets in, I was like, fuck this, I can't do it.
Yeah, I think I ended that project being like, I'm buying a fucking like a pneumatic rivet gun.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because I put so many in with that hand. It's like Ben Jackson's like hand rivet thing, and fucking hell, it were heavy, weren't it?
It hurt.
Yeah, it was.
We just taking it in turns to be like, I don't want to try one of these. And I want to do one and be like, fuck that.
Someone would walk through the door at a warehouse and be like, hey, come try this, come try this. I think we even tried it with like the DPD driver at one point, being like, hey mate, do you want to come have a go at this?
Yeah.
Like,
he was sort of doing that for like, it's a proper manly thing. Who wants to do a rivet? And then everyone was like, do one of them, peace.
Fair. And then you also did the cabs and the backdrop as well.
Yeah, when you put it in a list, it starts getting a bit silly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, cabs was really fun. Also, just one before I get into that, like what Lacey was saying, like not known with that stuff. Like I've never done any of that shit as well, really. Like it's just, that's the sort of the fun in these projects that you can, like the case was free, do you know what I mean? And it's like you can learn so much of this shit. We'd learned that from the warehouse, that you can probably learn how to do it.
Yeah, just YouTube it.
Yeah, YouTube it and have a look at a bit of a thing, and quickly you're like, holy shit, like people charge loads of money for this shit, and if you're up for putting the work in, you can do it. It's like, that was really fun doing that flight case stuff. And then a bit more of an artistic venture, we got onto the cabs. The cabs idea actually came from quite a funny place, because I don't know if it was Josh or Charlie from Malev hit me up one day and were like, we're filming a music video. Have you got, how many was it? He was like, have you got 8 black cabs? And I was like, yeah, I think so. And like, so I was like, I'll dig these out. Turned out we didn't have 8. I think we had like 6 and a couple of other ones with other coloured grills on. A classic, same, this is going to be a repetition in these stories that I'm like, Lacey, I'm running out of time. Can you paint 3 of these cabs black, because Malev are coming down in an hour to pick them up for their video?
Yeah, that was pretty much how that went. That's pretty much, I think I come down to grab a coffee and you just put a can of spray paint out and was like, Malev are going to be here in an hour. Can you do these? I was like, oh, fuck. I just want a fucking coffee.
Yeah, you're a
serious. I love that.
So that, and when we had the cabs out, we had them all stacked in the warehouse once we'd done them, and we're like, fucking hell, that looks nice and powerful, doesn't it? Like a big tower of cabs. And then somehow in that, we were looking at them, and I was like, you could write like a letter per 2 vertical cabs, which meant more than we had, because that's actually, how many is it? 12?
You needed 12, yeah, to do
Yeah,
sleeps.
we needed 12. So we had 8, and we were like, okay, I think we got some more. And a few of those were dummies that we'd lent to Malev. And then we need our film to be live cabs anyway for me and Sean. So we're like, we can do it, and ended up what's it called? Like remeshing a couple of cabs that like the painted up ones. So we remeshed a few of the painted up ones, made them all look like 12 blank black cabs, which is mental. It's quite a lot of cabs when you see them in a fucking line. And then this is an idea that me and Sav have talked about for fucking years and never done. This idea of basically like using a projector to project like your Photoshop file or your design onto something, and then basically like tracing that thing so you can get a really like, because drawing font by eye is an absolute nightmare. Like you think you're doing it right, and you'll step like a meter away from it and be like, fucking hell, it looks like a 6-year-old did it. So like if you're drawing fonts, they need to be on grids. So this was the benefit in this. We sort of set this projector up, marked out an area on the floor where the cabs went, set the projector up and put like a grid on Photoshop basically, and then mapped in the projector so that the grid lined up perfectly on the cabs. So it's not like bigger at the bottom than the top or anything. So it lines up. And then basically just like on the laptop, just like on Photoshop, just I made like the full word, but so you could slide them across. So it's like you do the S, and then once that cab's painted, you put a new cab in there and then slide it onto the L, like on the laptop, and then painted like the outlines of that in white. So the idea was that it kind of looked like those big light up letters, but not light up, just like painted, and have like a bit of that. Everything in Sleeps is kind of made by hand and has that like human edge to it. I love that in design. I don't like things to be very vectorized and very perfect. So it's like they look amazing from a distance, but you get close and it's like it's still paint strokes and like slightly rough edges. So like I painted the outlines of those, and again, as soon as I've painted the outline, passed them on to Lacey and his girlfriend Carrie to fill in all the white paint in that before. There's so many. The last tour was the same thing. The cabs were a different color and they were white on the So What tour. And I just had me and Nat here on like a Saturday. I'm like, what are we doing at the weekend, babe? I'm like, do you want to do this and that? Nat painting cabs with me at the warehouse. She's like, fucking hell. I don't
even tell Carrie when I know that. So like you'll hit me up and be like, I need you to come do a few jobs down the warehouse. I'm like, yeah, cool. And then I'll hit up Carrie and be like, babe, can you just run me down the warehouse? I'll grab you a coffee for running me down the warehouse. And then she'll come down and be like, I'll put a paintbrush in around and be like, Matt needs you to do this.
So many times where I've been like, fuck, I've forgotten I need to go and pick this thing up. And like Carrie's like dropping you off. And I'm like, Carrie, can I pay you to drive to this place and pick up this thing? It's the best thing about it, isn't it? It's like, everything in house with people we know and all our friends, everyone chipping in. And I think like it has a really nice, it installs a feeling of of good vibes and friendship inside the things. If we just got those delivered from a company and we're like, oh, they look perfect, great. It's like cool, but like instead it's like the effort of us and our friends and our loved ones and everyone working on this stuff together, that it's like, that's what makes it radiate, hopefully, the good vibes that we kind of like want it to.
Yeah. And I've said on this podcast before, like my favorite thing about working for you guys as a band is how hands-on you are with everything. And it doesn't matter whether it's like a business idea or whether it's painting the cabs or whether it's designing the merch or whatever. You guys pretty much touch everything. And that I feel like that shows in the way of, like you just said, like with the cabs and stuff like that. And that's, you know, from a distance they look great, but up close you can see that we've all had a touch on them. You guys have mapped them out or whatever. Like I love that about working for this band, and I feel like that conveys to the fans well as well. And that will always be that DIY ethic is something I know that me and you grew up, although we didn't grow up together, we grew up with, because of like the whole punk ethos and stuff. So
when you meet other people who've done things in a similar way, it's like such a nice feeling, because you're like, oh, sick. Like everyone, instead of someone being like, oh, I don't know, I can't do that, everyone's just like, no, I'm up for giving it a go. And
yeah.
Like I think now it's actually like translating really well, and like our like fans and the people who support us are understanding these parts of our band and like the bigger scale picture of the whole thing. Like you guys are running this podcast, like we're trying to help people with, it's not just this show that you see and like think it's a fucking circus. It's like, or like a Broadway show. It's not. It's like, it's a load of dudes having a bash at it, and also here's all the information about how we do it and how we sort of go on those like projects and journeys together. It's such a nice thing, like to open those doors up and hopefully let other people into this thing. And like, I just know that like I try and base everything I do on what I would have viewed it like when I was younger. I was such like I was a really like obsessed kid with whatever I sort of got focused on. And I used to like, if I got into a band, I didn't just get into them, I went fucking mental on them. And I just think, well, like, would I love this information? And I would. I'd be stuck to it. I'd be listening to every one of these podcasts, and I want to know what all the different people do. And hopefully that might just take someone who didn't even know that like a guitar tech existed or a merch guy existed or those roles, and be like, oh, sick. Like, I don't just, if I want to be into this, I don't just have to be a band member. I can still get into this culture by finding a new avenue. And to be fair, I didn't know these roles existed for so long in my life until things became professional, quote unquote. Like, so I think like the more we do that and the more we promote how much we're just giving it a go and we're not professionals, the better that is for people who don't know much about it.
Yeah, that's like the main idea behind this podcast and the Instagram page, that hopefully by showing people these jobs that we do and how we do them and work problems out and stuff, that hopefully it can inspire someone who might want to be involved in the music industry but isn't quite sure about how to yet. By hearing these stories about these different roles, that might spark an interest in them to give it a go and just try be one of the people behind the scenes at a rock show, you know, making it work. To know that there's other ways to be in the music industry. If that's what you want to do and have a passion for, you don't just have to be very good at guitar or in a band. There's so many different options and different skills. So yeah, hopefully we're showing people a few of those. But yeah, talking about rock shows. So the show in Wiesbaden at the venue, I can't pronounce the venue name.
Schlachtoff.
So I couldn't pronounce Matt's second name when I woke up this morning, so it's fine.
Fair. I actually asked a German person last night, I asked Laura how I pronounced Wiesbaden. So I wasn't sure if it was Wiesbaden or Wiesbaden or...
Yeah. I know all these things by like, it's the venue next to the train tracks with the big picnic bench outside.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know how you pronounce that. Sorry, I should have asked that one, shouldn't I really? It probably means like academy in German.
Yeah, it means like live music hall.
Big room.
Big room. But yeah, talk us through your day as a rock star, if you can, in this venue. But I know that this day was very chill and nothing really happened. So a typical day for you.
Usually goes like, wake up. What time is it? Oh shit, it's probably later than I want it to be because my body clock changes so drastically on tour into like staying up late and getting up late. And here I go to bed early and get up early. So I'll wake up late, be like, fuck, I wanted to be up earlier. And then get off the bus. Upon getting off the bus, I'll be like, oh, this place. because most of the time it's probably somewhere we've been. This one is a venue we've done with In Flames and Papa Roach, and we've done it with Architects as well. Amazing room, a room that I don't think I sort of is comprehend the right word. Like, I never really thought, fucking hell, we're going to headline that, especially after doing it recently with Architects. So like, it's pretty mental that we're doing it. Definitely walked in and did that. Holy shit, we're playing in here, and you guys are all like setting the shit up, and it's sort of coming to life. So I love that like wow moment of like, oh my God, we're playing this tonight. Kicks your day off with some proper excitement. Go upstairs. The dressing room's good. Usually try and find a desk because I'm probably going to be doing some either like worky day-to-day stuff or like design stuff. Find some catering. Get shouted at by you because it's sound check, and I'm like, and I'm late because I'm like, oh, I'm just finishing this.
You're normally not late. You're normally on stage too early, in the way, getting in Liam's way, playing riffs in everyone's ears while we're trying to set up. Then you'll disappear just at the time that we need you there, and then you'll be like, that's like 20 minutes late.
That's my real fun moment. Like, that's the moment where I'm like, wow, I get to play like a guitar and an amp, and it's like fun and loud.
Yeah, and then when you're supposed to play
behind you telling you to get out of the way.
And someone's like, Mike, you just turn that down a little bit because we can't talk to each other. Elle's like, do you mind just nipping? You just give us. Elle's normally like, they're really polite. Can you just give us 15 or 20, mate?
And Liam's like, shut up, Matt.
I have a bit of a theory that like, few years ago we had this like thing where we're like, the more time we spend on the stage before the show, if we have like a really relaxed sound check, and if we're sort of jamming, and if we're like everyone's playing their instruments and having a bit of fun, the more time we do that, often it resonates into the venue and the stage. So when you come back to it later for the gig, you feel quite like acquainted with the space, and like it feels like a comfortable place. So I actually do like doing that, even if it's a bit awkward. But yeah,
I reckon you should do it more, man, because it definitely don't affect me. So I reckon you should just do it more.
Yeah, fair. And then I remember at this show especially, we sort of, because the stage was so big and we're running up towards Brixton, the stage was so big, we got to like, I did a bit of work with Elle and got the flags up, which are off those tank traps on Asher's lights in between the cabs. Did a bit of work with them, making them a bit higher. I think we borrowed some extra poles from the venue to make them higher because the room was so big. And we got that extra staging, so we could almost do the Brixton 2-tier stage thing. And I remember like standing out at the front. I've got a load of photos in that Dropbox actually from Enzo that are like us sort of admiring the production of the whole thing, because we're like, fuck, this looks mental. One, as if we're doing this room, and two, like, how good does the hard work of building the production and the way it looks.
Yeah.
When you get to see it in that thing, you're like, this is why we did it. Like, to see it in that big pro venue. So that definitely was a big moment in this show for that. Well, before this show.
Yeah, especially doing the like you said, the 2-tier staging. I think this one in Brussels were the only ones in Europe where we could actually get the full actual big boy, almost a B stage, but like the decking at the back of the stage. So like, you guys could have a little play around and running up and feeling like big rock stars on your platform at the back.
It was definitely a fun feeling when it gets that big. Because we're like, holy shit, this is what we're sort of striving towards, and like it's a fun thing. I remember watching Eat It at this show. And being like, they were killing it. I think fucking Jordan's like stood on top of his stack, and like, I watched side stage and was like, whoa, this is so good. Can't believe we're doing it. I always had that with watching Eat It on this tour where I'm like, fucking, as if this is our tour, mental. And then the show itself, I think, was like really, really fun. One of the shows that I sort of just spend the whole gig looking out on the crowd and smiling. So I'm like, when did it get here?
Why am I here? How's this happened? So what do you do just before? Because I know you do a lot of warm-up stuff because you were annoying me every day with it. Do you want to tell the listeners how that goes for you?
Yeah, I do like about 40 minutes of vocal warm-up, just like to get I've quite a low voice, so like to get up to the range that I sing in, especially on some parts, quite high. So like it's a muscle in it. It's the same as if you're going for a run or a ride. It's probably wise to stretch that thing out before you take it through the paces. So, and especially if you're doing it every night, it's about preserving it for the next night by like warming up that much. So I do like I don't know the guy's name. I got given I use Jacoby from Papa Roach's warm up. He gave me his warm up. So my warm up is me listening to Jacoby and his coach for like 40 minutes. And I've done it so many times that I know like every word that they say in between stuff. And like, it's so weird. Last time we played with Papa Roach, I was like, talked to Jacoby about it because he'd given it me so long before. And I'm like, dude, I spend 40 minutes with you every day. Of him being like, all right, is that note? Okay, 1 second. I'm like, in my ears. So I do that and like generally move, stretch and dance. If I'm feeling tired, I just dance for quite a long time, just stupidly, and listen to loads of like fun songs. And if you dance, it usually like releases endorphins and creates endorphins. So I just sort of run around and dance stupidly for ages because it gets me going, especially if I've sat on my laptop for so much of the day. It's like, how do I get from that mode to like, I'm going to be in front of a couple of thousand people and
jumping around like a crazy little goat.
Yeah. Little jumpy goat.
How long into your career, Matt, did you realize that warming up was important, or that it helped you, benefited you in any way? Like, is it a recent thing, or is it something that you've always thought about, or is it something that back in the day you was like, "Now I'm too punk to worry about it"? Do you know what I mean?
It were probably, and this is the sixth, something around there where I'm like, fuck, I'm losing my voice every night, and if I want to do it, I need to do more. And like finding the right warm ups, like something that I've always, like me and Loz, we've always sort of spoke a lot about and tried loads of different things. I've tried Sam's warm up from Architects. I did the Melissa Cross Zenith Screaming warm up for years, and then it was on that In Flames tour in 2014 or 15, I think, probably 15, where Jacoby gave me this one, which is a longer warm up, but it's a slower build. So you spend like the first 20 minutes of the warm up basically just doing like and like quite small noises. But by the time you finish that, you're like, your mouth and your vocals are feeling really exercised. Then you start singing, and then you sort of sing for 20 minutes and like different scales. By the end of them, getting high and getting up to notes that you can only reach because you've done that much warming up. And then I sort of get to a point in that warm up where I'm like, right, I'm there. There's a few notes in the warm up that I know if I can hit comfortably, that I'm like, okay, now I'm warm. And then it's just a case of like warming up on guitar and warming up like my body. I've had fucking so many injuries over the years that I know it's important. I've had like loads of back problems, surgery on my knee, and like I wear like a knee brace now because my left knee's the knee I had surgery on is like a bit of a mess. So it's important that I do those things to preserve it, because if you've been following Sleets for years, you've probably seen me play sat down or on crutches or done like, or I dislocated my knee again last summer, the one that I had fixed, and like so you dislocated in China once as well, or Australia? I went to Australia. I've done a tour in Australia on crutches. I dislocated it in that German festival. Originally, first dislocated it at a Belgian festival. Done fucking loads where it's like, no fun. But
God, you're such a rock star.
Sounds like it's dad.
So after a crazy show, you've partied hard, you've played hard, you've warmed up hard, you've dislocated your knee, you're playing, you've got to spend the next week on crutches. How do you wind down after the show? Because when we had Aaron on, we spoke to him about like me and him being sober and stuff, but you do it a little bit differently, don't you? Not every night. I'm not saying that you were like that came out so wrong. No. It sounded like you're an alcoholic, but like you have a beer, you unwind that way. You're a bit different,
aren't you? I mean, I find it really difficult to wind down from a show, like 100%. Like there's so much adrenaline that comes up through that moment that I'm still going for hours because of it. So like if I've had a good show and everything feels good, like my voice feels like it's stood up all the way through it, then like I'll probably have a few beers after it. And I mean, for me, that's my reward. I spend so long working on the pre-production of tour and the things in the band that don't necessarily like show on the surface, that for me, like that moment after the gig for me is one of the only times I actually don't work. I don't work really after the show unless there's like a real deadline on something. And I actually just try to like kick back and have a bit of time to sort of, sounds shit, like compared to the sobriety conversation in a way, but it's just a different thing. I mean, I'm not an excessive boozer, but like it helps me to have a beer and have that like moment of reflection of what we've just done, and that I'm not working for a moment. And like for me, that's that sort of cheers moment where I'm like, we did it. Like all this shit, all this effort that we put in is worth it. And like, I like to just sit back, and I'm often like, I'm a focused person. Like I spend a lot of my time like on tasks and on things. And I like to use a beer to be like, I'm having a beer and I'm switching off. I won't have a beer while I'm doing work. I won't have a beer like in the middle of it. I'll have one during the show just because that's part of the reward. But yeah, that's my moment to sort of sit back after it and be like, fuck yeah, it's worth, all this shit's worth it. Like,
of course. And you're not the only one that does it. I know that Jar has a drink too and that as well. And you guys have that lucky thing that I never had the ability of, and that's just having one. So, or having one or two, or just like unwinding from the show that way. Like my one or two was passing out in my bunk. So
just knowing when to stop and knowing you've got a job the next day.
And the show, and I've definitely it's definitely not a case that I'm like, I know exactly when to stop. Like say years and years of doing things in excess that I'm like, that I know you'll be shit the next day if I have like a fucking massive one. But so it's like just in moderation, innit? Just like enough to feel relaxed and feel like I can use that to sort of come down from the gig, but not let it affect the next day, or at least that's the goal.
While we're talking about beers, we talk about coffee on here all the time, obviously, but I know that you're a fan of IPAs, Matt.
I am. I've turned into a bit of a beer snob.
Discovered. I found this out the other night, which was interesting, which was a great realization for me. But what do you look for in an IPA? Because I know that people listen to this are beer snobs as well. So talk to us about flavor profiles, man, because that's one thing that I don't know.
I think I just drank like shit beers for so long, and then like I like a strong beer because I don't like the idea of drinking loads of fucking beers.
Right.
So like I like a hazy, an opaque beer, hoppy, a little bit citrusy, opaque, ideally about 5 to 6%. That's a nice reward beer, but it's one of those things. It's like as soon as you start enjoying it and really enjoying, like I drank beers as a kid because I wanted to get drunk. Do you know what I mean? Now I'm like, because it tastes nice and it's an enjoyable thing to do. And that's just, it's turned into that thing now where if I have like, someone gives me a fucking Foster's, I'm like, it just tastes like weird fizzy alcoholic water. I'm not down. So it's sad. It's turned me into that thing where like I'd rather search a bit harder and strive for that better beer.
Fair. Let's move away from the beer and move on to gin.
Gin's all right, but I find the acidity of it quite heavy. Like if I drink the bit of gin and tonic, I often can feel the acidity, which is not a good thing for singing as well. I mean, it's not like beer's good, but I do like a gin, especially because like as you get older and your metabolism slows down, it's sort of a bit harder to stay in shape in it. So like gin's if you love pizza, which I do, then like gin's a wise one. James is a bit of a gin dad, isn't he?
Yeah, I've moved on to gin. Moved away from the beer. I have to like make myself a gin and tonic and get through the crowd now to start the show.
You and Ash at front of the house with your little bar.
Yeah, I did mention it during the Munich one. I actually took a bottle of gin and a bottle of tonic to front of house because Ash was right behind me on a double level. So during the show, while you guys were playing, I was like pouring his drinks, like passing them up to Ash behind me. It was a good
Very professional.
How the other half live, man.
Next tour, I want like a little fridge underneath my desk. If you can build me one of those.
We could facilitate something like that. It's all trailer space, mate. You listen to that episode of you talking about trailer space. I was there all that time. Like, we can do it. We can pack it. Imagine that, and you're like, the fridge doesn't fit in.
My fridge has to fit in. I need my fridge.
Yeah, let's get a separate truck just for my fridge.
We didn't take the backstage warm up and wardrobe, but we took James's front of house fridge.
We didn't take Matt's guitars, but my fridge is there, so that's good. But yeah, so let's go back to the Wiesbaden show, and I mean, I don't know why nothing really happened. It was a very German efficient show again.
It was a rock show.
Yeah, it was a great show. Yeah, like you said, the dressing rooms were really nice. We had the nice big one at the end. Because like last time when we were architects, we had the small first one, which was still lovely.
I remember in the dressing room, one of my only memories from this show in the dressing room was that we had Ryan Connolly out on tour with us. And who we brought on the tour as just as a vibe king, like for him and Enzo as well, like two vibe lords. And the best thing was when they arrived, Ryan's like, no one really knows where Ryan's from. He ended up doing like all the stories and the social story stuff. And Ryan's lived everywhere in the world. He's like a super international dude. And he speaks Venezuelan, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
That sounds right. That sounds right.
Which is, I mean, please correct me in the comments if this is wrong, but I'm pretty sure Venezuelan is like Enzo's true origin.
Yeah, I think so.
So Enzo speaks Venezuelan, and obviously not many people do, especially in our world. So like, as soon as they met, they started speaking in that, and were like, "Holy fucking shit!" So they were like, "Did we just become best friends?" But Ryan were like, he's like so full of beans. He has such an amazing energy. And I remember in the dressing room, he's always walking in. He's got a UE boom with like some fucking proper party tunes playing on it. And at this show, like in the dressing room, we had to be like, Ryan, can you just wind it down like 20%? He's just like full like bouncing around the room, and everyone was like trying to chill after the show or something. And like, Ryan, can you just calm it down a little bit? Which felt awful, but yeah, Ryan's a legend. Shout out on that.
Shout out.
The lad. Yeah, that dressing room was good, but it was all in that one room, whereas normally we'd have the media center in a separate room. That was like lounge area and media center in that one room. And then I actually had a little production office that day around the corner because I had a lot of bricks and emails to send that day. So I stole.
Mm-hmm. I worked in there with you during the day.
Yeah, you came and invaded my office. Mm-hmm. Good little office though. I had my Heiko got me my own little rider in there. I had like chocolate bars and.
Are you kidding me, man? Like, this is ridiculous. Gin bars at work, your own little rider. This is how the other half live, man. Like, while I'm busy busting ass all day.
Struggling to get a water.
Yeah.
Someone bring me a water on merch. James is in his little fucking den with his own rider.
Yeah, it's like literally mini Snickers. But yeah,
outrageous.
Matt, I wanted you on this episode for two reasons. So firstly, as you mentioned earlier, we did this venue with Architects a few years ago when you guys were either opening support or main support. And I remember when we did that show, thinking back to that and remember walking in and just being like, this room is massive. Like, and I guess kind of feeling proud of Architects for being able to do a room that big in Germany and you guys being like honored to be there with them and stuff. How did it feel to be headlining that this time?
That whole tour, we were walking into rooms like that with Architects being like, fucking hell, boys, like, is this where you are now? Like, and we've done so many tours with them over the years that like watching it get, like, we've done a show. I remember doing a show in Slovenia with them in like 2012 in like a tiny place and like so many like smaller rooms, which at the time for us were amazing and were massive. And we've always had that thing where it's been like, fucking hell, you're doing this and it's sold out. It's amazing. And then that tour, especially where they did Ali Pali, that whole tour was like constantly going, oh my God, like you guys have just stepped up a serious level. Yeah. And we aspire with that shit where we're like, God, I hope that we manage to sort of get to that size and it keeps sort of growing to get to that level. So loads of this tour, I mean, Brixton, as everyone knows, was a massive experience like that for us, that like a milestone for us to get to that level. And Europe was as well, to be fair, like going through, doing that room, doing AB in Brussels and like big moments for us being like, holy shit, as if we're here. And they are the moments, like you spend so much time with your head inside the machine and inside the bubble of it all. Like I rarely am thinking about those moments. I'm just thinking about how we get to those moments and how we run the machine to make it to that my head's so far into that I'm not thinking about actually doing it. So when I get there, I have that like this sudden wave of like, oh, this is why you were doing it all, because there's going to be an hour or an hour and a quarter later that you're going to get the reward for the whole thing. Yeah. So yes. Yeah. But that tour was, the January tour was a complete vibe on that. It was that all the way through. And me and Sean, before the tour, we were like, I was doing that pre-pro stuff and Sean was in all the time working on the track stuff with you and building that because we had improved the rig. And we'd spoken about it being like, on this tour, we need to just we need to just enjoy it and just not worry if we fuck up or if we do anything. Just like, why do we do all this work if we can't if we don't get to sort of like revel in the moment a little bit? So we made a point of being like, we've got to just enjoy it. And I think we did. We spent the whole tour just going like slapping ourselves and pinching ourselves like as if we're here.
Yeah. As if you're here in this massive room and every time I die supporting you. Crazy.
With all our amazing friends and crew and fans and this massive, awesome community of people that we've like managed to collect and join together. And it's just like the vibe in the room for me to have our crew and like our family and all these people involved with it who see everything that goes into making it, and then have them all together, and then all these fans in the room who have like supported us for so long and put in all the work that gets us to there. Like that's literally what it's all about. And like, I feel really lucky that we've managed to create that. And even if it ended tomorrow, I've done everything I wanted to. I still have a million things that I'm going to do and I want to do, but like, I'm so happy with what we've done. And so like, feel really lucky that it's been like this and that people have been so eager to help support and do it with us.
Yeah. And the other reason I wanted you on this episode, Matt, if you're willing to talk about this, is your great spelling mistakes. So when you originally put the poster out for this tour, I think you'd spelt Wiesbaden wrong. I think you'd done W-E-I-S.
Always
a couple
a struggle. I'm like so excited to release this tour and like put the poster up and all the comments are just, it's Wiesbaden. Like I did an I, like the I before E or the E, whichever way it is, and I put an R in it. So I was like Wiesbaden, and like everyone was just like, dude, come on. And this is something that I just seem to like. It's just turning into one of my things. Yeah,
I guess because you spend hours looking at the design, you just don't notice that one little mistake, and then you're just like, that's great, it's done. I'm
definitely a designer, not a spelling professional.
Yeah.
Like, I've done so many. I've done Berlin, a Berlin typo. I somehow made the mistake of putting Marseille, Spain on a poster.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite ones.
Which was me just like, obviously like doing the next line and like with the country, and just like, I know Marseille's in France, like no question, but just fucked up. And my eyes don't look for those things. They look for the problems within the design and the layout. And like, I did Glago as well on that tour.
Yeah. I think that was the same one. Berlin, Glago and Marseille, Spain were all the same.
They were on the t-shirt too.
They were on a t-shirt, yeah. If you've got one of those shirts, that's like rare shit now. Like there was only the first batch, and so we realised
mid-tour.
Yeah. If you got one, I'm interested. I don't have one. They all sold out, so that's cool if you have one.
They all happened because I realised after doing the range for the tour that I'd not done a tour shirt, and did like one morning was like, oh fuck it, I'm just going to get my laptop and just like do my emails in bed, and realised that I'd not done the tour shirt. So like started making this tour shirt in bed, and I never worked like that ever, and like, it suffered from it because there was so many mistakes in those dates. And somehow no one fucking saw him. Like,
noticed like
I didn't realize. I didn't realize until someone at the merch pointed out to me that Marseille was in France, and I was like, "Yeah, I know that. Of course, it's in France." And they were like, "No, look at the t-shirt." And I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
No.
If you own a So What CD, on the actual CD, not on like the tracks on your computer, but like on the actual CD, "Good Grief" is spelt wrong. It says "Good Grief." And someone messaged me, is like, is there any other versions where it's not spelt wrong? And I'm like, no. Like, and I'm not even changing it. Like, I'm embracing the mistakes because they are proof that we are human and that we are just giving this a go.
I don't know if you noticed on the day sheet. So I do my day sheet through iCalendar. So everyone's got an iPhone. They can all access the data on their phones. On the actual day sheet for this day, if you scroll down, I don't know if anyone noticed because no one mentioned it, but it did say at the bottom, on the notes section, Matt, it's I before E.
Yeah. You've started putting them in as like spelling bee corrections for me. like mentoring me into being a better speller. I do sort of feel like every time I make a mistake, I will never make the mistake in that word again, because all I've got to do is spell everything in the dictionary wrong once on some form of print file, and then I'll learn it all.
Fair. Yeah, now you've started just sending me stuff, being like, can you just spell check this?
Oh, God, yeah.
Just double check this, triple check. But yeah. So, Lacey, how was the show for you? Anything interesting happen on the merch desk?
It was busy. This venue's actually kind of going back on what like you guys were saying earlier about how like big and scary this venue is. The second show that I ever did with Sleeps was in this venue.
No way.
It was with Architects on that tour that Fit for an Autopsy opened. Do you remember that tour?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my first ever tour with you guys. We was doing that, and we was doing headlines as well. And the second show on that tour was this venue, and I remember walking into this venue after working at the level I'd been at, thinking, "Fuck me, this place is huge." Like,
Mama, I made it.
Yeah, I was just like, this place is massive. And then I remember seeing the efficiency of Architects Crew and meeting like Scott, who does their merch, and being around that and just thinking like, this is like a big level up. So to go into the venue and see our boys work that hard and smash it, see you boys play the show and smash it with the crowd reaction that you got, and to feel like I could actually do my job to a level of that was cool. It was a nice feeling. I'd like dash through the crowd.
Family moment, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. I dashed through the crowd while you guys were playing, just to have a quick look on the side of the stage, and it was insane to see that, like, such a huge reaction for you guys. That was a lot of fun. The show was generally very, very busy for merch. I think I sold out of everything that I had, actually, like literally everything. I loaded nothing out because it was that busy that I sold everything. So, which is always good.
The dream,
going back to going back to what we was talking about. Yeah. Can actually we can fill up the bus and get a Big Mac meal.
Yeah.
I think we did. I think we may have gone to Mackey's after this show.
Possibly. That
I think we did.
That happened.
It's just down the road, isn't it?
And like, yeah, and we're like, I remember like we're in Mackey's and there's like loads of fans that are also in Mackey's, and we just like walk in for a meal and people are like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like,
I remember that. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's at that train station, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh no, we went to the other one, didn't we? The other way. If you walk the other way, you go through that park.
Yeah.
Went to that one.
Oh yeah. But yeah, other than that, the show wasn't particularly chaos. It was, it was chaos selling wise, but there was no major things that happened at merch. I had a pretty easy night, a few drunk people, but that is what that is. And yeah, ate at McDonald's at the end, so that was it for me.
Yeah, good.
It's a day in the life of a rocking crew.
Yeah, essentially.
Wake up, sell some shirts, eat at McDonald's, bed.
It's the dream. That's the dream.
So yeah, that's basically it for this show then. My day was pretty straightforward, like a typical day. Woke up, got some lunch, set up my front house area, set up the stage, sound checked, went and sat in my little office for a bit and sent loads of boring emails about Brixton, the rest of this tour, and some of the US tour was coming up as well. And then rock show happened, lots of kids moshed around in a big room, and then packed down and got a Big Mac. So yeah, typical day for me. But yeah, that's about it, I guess. Matt, let's do some quick fire questions for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
So let's start with, what was your favourite song to play on this tour? So I know we had some new ones in there. So,
like it's hard to beat The Moment of Antisocial, because it's just like it's everything all happening in one moment. Because it's the first track, super fun. I will never not enjoy the moment of You Are We when it kicks in, and like the effort that went into that album is just like, is paid off every night when I hear that song, like sung back. Just hearing the crowd shout You Are We is just, I'll never get bored of that. I loved playing Set You Free on it because it's like, was a song, a big favourite for me off that record. Loved playing Inspire as well. With those / all of it.
Yeah, every song. All right then, so what about one luxury item that you take on tour with you that you don't really need for your job, but it makes your tour better? So you can't say your laptop or your tablet or your guitar. But
some lush, smelly, like moisturizing spray that I know
Great shout.
you'll be with me on this, James, but a little quick spray of this nice smelling stuff inside my bunk. So when you get in your bunk, it's like, I like smells me. I think you could like, I like incense, like candles and that sort of shit. And then maybe if I travel with a candle and light it on my desk every day, it feels quite similar because it's the same smell. So that Lush spray, bit of that in the bunk.
The lavender spray.
Yeah, which is good. Like some essential oils, and lavender's good for putting you to sleep a little bit. And like bit of that in the bunk. So when you get in, you're like, this is like my little house and it doesn't smell like fucking gigs and arse. That
is a good spray.
That is my, you inspired me on it. I went and bought some after you had some. That's my luxury item.
I got that because of the America tour, and everyone was like, you're not going to be able to sleep on a bandwagon. It's really rocky. So I was really scared because you were all like putting me off going to America. So I ended up taking this spray. I was like, well, that might help me sleep. Bit of lavender. And then since then, I've just took it on every tour. Yeah,
that's my luxury item. Very, very luxury. Very fucking bougie and not rockstar at all.
Right. And then last question then. So this one kind of links you and Lacey together a little bit. So Lacey, maybe you can answer after as well. What's the favourite piece of tour merch that you've designed in the last few years that they've sold?
For me or for Lacey?
Yeah, for you. The favourite one that you've designed, and then we'll do the favourite one that Lacey's sold.
Good question. I've designed so many things that they're a bit of a blur. I'm actually thinking about doing like a little zine of like all of my designs, because sometimes when I look through, there's so many, like hundreds and hundreds of designs, and I kind of wanted to put them all into one place so you could see them. That's off topic. God, I don't know. I mean, I love the special shirts. I love the Oasis shirt, which Sav did like an absolute Photoshop masterpiece on. And I did like the type bits on it, and I love that Clash shirt as well, because that's like a favorite t-shirt and record of mine. Cool.
So Lacey, what about you? What's your favorite merch bit that Matt's designed that you've had to sell over the past few years?
I think for me, the Silence Speaks t-shirt has like a real like place in my heart, because when we first toured together, before I was working for Sleeps, Matt tattooed the skeleton hands from that design on me. And we've had it on pretty much every tour and show we've done since, and it always sells really, really well. It's always a really popular design, so that will always have a pretty special place in my heart. However, the Manchester Oasis shirt is also one of my absolute favourites, because that's a shirt that I really wanted. That's where the idea come from, was that's just the shirt that I wanted, and I didn't actually end up getting one.
Yeah, and shout that's really a Sav design, to be fair. That's his photoshopping on that.
Yeah, but
all I did is write. I just wrote "Live in Manchester" and made the Sleeps logo into the Oasis logo.
Yeah, but yeah, that kind of come from an idea of being like, this would be a sick t-shirt, and then I never actually got one. So
me neither.
Good. Neither did I. Sold them all. Limited edition. If you've got one, well done.
Maybe if I make this zine of or a little design book, it'll be easier to pick.
Yeah,
because I can't remember half the shit I've done.
Yeah, I think I'm having a bit of a mind block on that.
You said it, it's there, recorded into the world, so you're going to have to make it. One more thing to add to your to-do list.
I'll make it. I'm first and never.
Right, any final words from either of you two?
I'd say that I think shout out to you guys for doing this podcast, which is sick. I know I sort of said that earlier, but also like a lot of people don't see the amount of effort that goes into a band, and a lot of time the band reaps, not right, sort of gets the credit for the whole thing. But I like that this is hopefully shedding light that it's a bigger picture than that, and it's not just a band isn't just 5 people, it's 5 people and everyone who's around them and works on it together. So I think shout out to you guys for being a sick crew, and all the rest of the boys on that tour for making it work. It was a beautiful, if that's the last tour we ever did, it's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
It won't be, because we're going to do loads more, but
hopefully if Corona goes away.
Yeah, wear a fucking mask so we can go back on fucking tour. That's what I have to fucking say.
Innit?
I'm bored at home.
Yeah.
Let me go out on tour and we can do podcasts every day from the dressing room. Sit and annoy Matt. Matt, what are you designing today?
Also have to say that I really want my breakfast now, because Matt had me up really early. And I'm tired.
I got up for 9. Ooh.
All right, let's let Lacey go get his breakfast and stop complaining. So
Right,
everyone
just say bye.
Oh, don't steal my line.
So it makes me laugh every time I listen to it. At the end of the I can tell you're a dad, because at the end of the podcast, James goes, "Okay, everyone, now let's say bye."
Say bye. Fine, you have the line. Bye.
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 Yeah, I guess we end this episode with a big fuck you to Matt for stealing my line. That's my catchphrase. Let's come up with a new one now. Fuck's sake. But yeah, also massive thanks to Matt for coming on and chatting to us and having a crazy conversation for about an hour about random stuff, about being on tour and wild swimming. Still got questions about that one, but okay. And yeah, if you are enjoying this episode and any of the other episodes, please remember to share on everything, Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Go on your Instagram stories and share it. Make sure you tag us in it. We've got a Facebook page, which is just @WelshTex. Go like that page and share stuff from there as well. And we've got Twitter as well. You've guessed it, it's @WelshTex. I don't think anyone follows that page yet. I only made it the other day. And the only account I follow on there is Taylor Swift. So come and follow us and let's hang out on all those. And if you've got any friends that that are interested in a possible job in the music industry, or someone who's in an upcoming band where you think this information might be useful to them, make sure you tag in those guys, share it to them, get it out there. If we can inspire someone to pursue the passion of the job or this industry to them, then that's what this podcast set out to do, and it'd be great. So let us know. Make sure you're tagging us in everything. We'd like to hear from you guys. But yeah, I guess we'll just end it there. Yeah, big thank you again to Matt for joining us on this episode. And yeah, I guess you'll hear from us next Monday when we'll talk about the Amsterdam show. Always a good time at the Melkweg. Great venue. So yeah, I'm going to end the episode here. I'm going to end it with a compilation of all the outtakes I was considering for the start of the episode. So any of the episodes that you've heard at the very start, when you press play, you can hear an outtake of what someone said during the recording that I thought was pretty funny. And there was so many to choose from in this episode because Matt just talked absolute crap. Even when we weren't on the Zoom call together, he was just sat in a room on his own singing songs about connecting. So yeah, let me know if you think I picked the correct one to start the episode. If you think any of these at the end are better, let us know. But yeah, this is the end. I guess I'll do my catchphrase now since Matt's not here to ruin it. So everyone say bye. But it's just me and I'm on my own and lonely, so bye.
Cool. You want to click track on, yeah? Oh my God, you're really taking this seriously, aren't you? Bored out of your mind on Amazon trying to work out how to be a radio broadcaster. You don't mind if I do old podcast as Julian from Mansfield, do you? All right, mate. Massive fan. Love like Welsh Tex and that. It's one of my favourite bands. Come on. Rise and shine. It's got coffee in the title. You can't be tired on the episode. I'm still waiting for you, James. I'm waiting for you online. Still recording. Waiting for you. Waiting for your upload to finish. I'm waiting for ja. So waiting for ja. Yes, come on. Now then, mate. Yeah, I love that, mate. That's nice, that. Where are you, James, mate? Come on, mate. Hurry up. Connecting.